Good morning or afternoon, everybody, depending on where you are joining us from. Excited to have you here. I'm Tim Kraus, Chief Marketing Officer at Financial Brokerage, joined by Dustin Carlson, who's our National Account Manager with Equitrust, and who has been a good partner with us for several years, and somebody that we've been working with closely now that he's joined Equitrust in an effort to have our agents be a little bit more aware of Equitrust as a carrier and some of the specific product offerings available. And I would tell you, everybody, just to kind of level set up front, this isn't a random webinar for us in what we chose to do topic-wise. This is specific because, you know, Equitrust is a carrier in which Jim Guinan and I, my counterpart on the annuity side, we really believe in the products. We really believe in the simplicity of the overall portfolio. And then for us, Financial Brokerage as a company, and specifically on the operations side, we've really had good experiences with Equitrust processing business, being responsive on the underwriting side. And so Equitrust, you know, if you call me about an annuity, if you call Jim about an annuity, Equitrust is going to be a carrier that you're going to hear come up a lot. And so this is intentional for us to kick off our first webinar of the year, specifically partnering with Equitrust to go over some of the products that they have available that we've been promoting. I know Dustin will mention maybe some things that will be coming up as enhancements. And then we've also added to our contract a new product, a single premium life product that Dustin will talk about as well. So just quick logistics for everybody. You all are on mute for a couple reasons. One is so we don't get any background noise interrupting the call. And two, we are recording the webinar and we will make it available to you that have attended so that if you miss anything, you want to go back, cover anything in more detail, you'll be able to replay that for yourself. But that doesn't mean that we don't want questions. We do want questions. And so if you have a question as we go through this, I'll be monitoring throughout. Just use the question function, which should be on the panel on the right-hand side of your screen. You submit a question through there, I will see it. I will either answer it, or if it's better answered by Dustin, I will give Dustin a heads up on that. I think that's it logistic-wise. The only other thing I'll mention real quick before we kick it off to Dustin, for those of you that are familiar with Financial Brokerage, have done business with us in the past, hopefully you mean that new year means new incentive trips, and we do have a couple incentive trips planned. I won't share all the details as we're still finalizing some things, but I can tell you that there will be 2 trips. There will be very accessible in terms of qualification levels to hit those. I believe that we'll probably be up north and somewhere north of us and somewhere south of us both, and there may be some fishing involved. So that's what I'll share for now. The only other thing, which I don't usually mention, you know, as we announce those trips, and maybe you're newer to Financial Brokerage or your mindset has changed, and you see those qualification levels and say, you know, well, I could really do that level of production with Financial Brokerage. The trips in particular, whether it's the location or just trips in general, don't interest me as much. Maybe reach out to me directly and we'll see if we can't work something else out. Because for anybody that produces with us at those levels that it takes to qualify for those trips, we do want to make sure that we're rewarding and paying back to the producers at an appropriate amount. So that's the last thing I will mention. I'll shut up for now, and I will turn it over to Dustin to kind of walk you through the meat of the presentation.
Well, thanks, Tim. Appreciate the partnership that we've had for a number of years, no matter what carrier I'm with at the time, but I'm really excited to be at Equitrust. I've been here since June as a national account manager. Quite the time to transition to a new role that's supposed to be a traveling role. I'm not doing too much of that lately, but hopefully we'll get out in the field and see some of you in 2021. But really appreciate you spending some extra time away from selling and meeting with clients to be with me here today. We'll go through some sales strategies in the beginning, a little bit about our annuity product, and then I'll touch base on our single premium life product, which I like. It's new to me to be able to sell as of last June, and I think there's definitely a place for it in every client's retirement portfolio. So we'll kick this off with a little bit about Equitrust in case you're not familiar, but if you are, there are some valuable nuggets in here as well. In 2020, we had our 4th highest year ever. We feel very, very fortunate for that. We finished, it was 5 million short of $2 billion. So an incredible year, some tailwinds for that, where we had a 1% commission bump from April to June, I believe it was, on all of our FIA products. So I think that helped out some advisors out there in the field that, during a new COVID era, weren't making necessarily many sales. So those extra 100 basis points of comp definitely helped out, as well as our product has been extremely competitive in the marketplace all throughout 2020 and continues in 2021. And as that last bullet point shows you, our 2 new indices that we rolled out, the Barclays Focus 50, which I'll touch on in a little bit, and our Mark 5 performed very well in 2020 as well. Some things coming up in 2021 that may help you. We're doing e-delivery. Whoop, one too many clicks there. E-delivery of contracts. So, you won't have to necessarily meet with clients in person. You'll be able to send that to them via, I believe it's email, secured email. We're upgrading our website so that you can upload, not and get order items. I think is another added benefit, making your job and lives easier. We're adding Barclays to our in-force portfolio, which is going to give you some extra lift because right now, option costs, things like that, even on our in-force book, are tough to buy out there and support a competitive cap, as well as my favorite bullet point, we're adding the Mark 5 to 2 other products. Right now we have them on our accumulation focused annuities, but we're adding them to the income rider focused annuities in the Power and the 10. So good things coming up in 2021. And I just heard back from the leadership team, we are not touching rates for, I think it's the 4th month in a row, which I think is a badge of honor these days, Tim. I don't know about you, but there's a lot of reduction in par rates and caps and everything else out there.
Well, I was going to mention, Dustin, I think, with the people that we have on the phone, we have varying levels of experience and familiarity with the indexes that you mentioned. And I'm sure you're probably going to go into more detail at some point, but yeah, I was going to kind of remark on, due to the current interest rate environment, cost of options, we're seeing more and more pressure and more lowering on caps and participation rates as it relates to the S&P 500, which is the index that everybody's most familiar with. People tend to gravitate towards on index products. And you're seeing carriers with more and more indexes like the Barclays Focus 50, the S&P Mark 5. So I was wondering if maybe you could talk about, why it's important to look at those types of indexes and maybe share a little bit more detail on how that's different than just benchmarking it against an index like the S&P 500.
Yeah, and I can go ahead and address that now because honestly, Tim, I may forget by the time I get to that slide. But, I think with the pressures that we are getting in the marketplace, option costs are through the roof, and the pressures on the spreads that we can earn are also in dire straits. To keep our internal rate of return where it needs to be to remain solvent, all of us carriers are going through these sort of pressures, but the advantages that we have as carriers, in my personal opinion, and what I've been told, is that when you go out to the options market and you look at working with a bank and everything else to fund these proprietary indices, the option costs are negotiated. So we're able to pre-negotiate the cost of the options for the length of our contract period with these banks. and really be able to control the costs that we have when we go to market. Now, it can't solve all problems. You know, I'll be the first to admit, I think when I came on board in June, we were at 140% participation rate in our market value. Now we're at 95 in our Mark 5, for example. But there's another one of our competitors that has the same index, the Mark 5, that their par rate's around 60%. So I think we're still head and shoulders above other carriers as far as their par rate there, but nonetheless, we still knocked our par rate down 45 basis points because of the pressures. Now, related to the S&P 500, I'm not an economist, but what I would tell you is that the S&P 500 is very, very volatile. It's expensive to buy options these days, and to benchmark it against that, we're taking away some of the alpha that the S&P 500 volatility provides. You know, the upside potential when you put a 5% vol control on an index, it's acting sort of like a governor, but at the same time, it's limiting any downside, dramatic downside volatility drops that the S&P may have as well. So what you get is a smooth, consistent return for the client, which, you know, at the end of the day is all we can really ask for inside of a fixed index annuity that's already protecting the downside risk. So without, you know, talking my head off for hours on end, I think I'll end that there. But, you know, Tim, if you have any further questions on that, I'd be more than happy to answer.
No, that's perfect, Dustin. I think it's helpful for our audience to understand, you know, why can we have, like, you know, for example, an 80% participation rate on these proprietary type indexes versus a participation rate that's so low on an annual point-to-point S&P 500. And I think you did a good job of explaining why. And then, you know, the next step is, well, you know, that makes sense. Maybe I should take a look outside of just the S&P 500 index. So I appreciate it.
Yeah, well, really, I mean, it's the only way you're going to get any lift out of a fixed index annuity, in my personal opinion, because, you know, caps and par rates are next to nothing. And what I tell you is I don't know when things are going to get better. And from a renewal perspective, you know, would you rather renew at a 95% par rate or a 2% S&P cap? So I just think that when you look at some of these participation rate uncapped strategies, it's pretty much the only way to get any lift out of a fixed index annuity, which there's plenty of lift. We've had some great performance last year in our S&P Mark 5. It was up 8.28%. So great return for clients, even though we did protect their downside. So just a number of good things coming out of the proprietary space. They are somewhat complicated, but what I like about our two index options, and I'll get into this in just a second, is our Focus 50 is based upon a rotating mix of blue chip stocks, the top 50 in the S&P 500. And then the Mark 5 is still an S&P based story. So you don't have to stray too far away from your S&P 500 story that you've been used to for many years, for those of you that have been selling it for many years. So Tim, I'll go ahead and move on here. I know time is of the essence, and stop me though if there are any questions. So I wanted to start off with a few sales concepts, and for the last year and a half, I've been going with back to the basics, because there's a lot of chatter, there's a lot of noise out there in the volatile market that we're in, all sorts of different things happening in our world. So, you know, as Tim mentioned, we have a very simplistic portfolio of products, very effective, but yet simple to explain to customers. And this is a simple way to explain the idea of a fixed index annuity to a consumer that may hear some of that negative chatter out there in the world. So I've had some advisors actually relay this concept to me that they're using sitting across the table from clients, or at the office or Starbucks, wherever they're having their client meetings, even over you know, the internet. So essentially what you can do is have a blank piece of paper, give the client a pen, or, you know, you can write this out yourself, but have them write in their amount that they have saved for retirement. You know, maybe it's $500,000. So draw that bucket in there for retirement savings. draw 500,000, have them draw 3 arrows, one going up, one staying level, and one going down. And then ask them to eliminate one way that their retirement dollars could go. And I mean, I don't know about you, Tim, but 10 times out of 10, if I'm sitting in front of a client asking them that question, they're going to draw a giant X through that downward arrow. And that's exactly what a fixed index annuity does. Takes your retirement dollars, keeps them level during the downturns in the market, and allows them to participate in the upside when the market goes up itself.
Yeah. And if they don't draw an X through that, then don't move on from index products, because that's the number one.
Yeah. Yep. So what'll happen is advisors will put this piece and then the next piece that I'm going to present to you in front of the client as well to kind of back that up. So what we have here is a look back 20 years in the S&P. We have the red line, which is the S&P 500. Then we also have the guaranteed and a guaranteed index annuity. And then you also have a 5% cap is what we're illustrating here from the year 2000 to 2020, and how those all perform together. And I know this slide isn't groundbreaking, but when you pair it with the idea of, hey, you know, if you were a client and you were, I don't know, 65 years old and planning on retiring in the next couple of years, and it was, I don't know, 2000, let's say it was 2000, and you had $100,000 saved up for retirement, and you're going to retire 3 years ago, you know, you'd have $60,000 left for retirement after the market did its work on your retirement dollars. So same thing in 2008, you know, you're planning on retiring in 2010. Do you think you could still retire on time if you had all your money exposed to the marketplace? Probably not. And that's when you hit them with this piece that we have available. And I'd encourage you to reach out to Tim on this. This is a new piece that I had developed by our marketing team. And really what it does is it drives the point home of a fixed index annuity. If you were one of those clients that had, you know, most of your money in your 401k exposed to the market in 2008, that client lost 37% of that 401k. So could they recover from that? Yes, but are they going to have to keep working for longer than they originally thought? Undoubtedly. So this chart, you put it in front of a client, which it is consumer approved. What you show them is essentially what a loss does. You don't even talk about any gains you can get inside of a fixed index annuity. And frankly, you don't have to mention the word fixed indexed annuity. You can just show them, hey, here's what a loss in the market does. And you know, maybe Tim, you could speak to this a little bit, but me personally, I think I lost 25%, 30% of my portfolio in March and April. And, you know, with that, the market's done great afterwards, but sequence of return risk is real. And if I lost 25%, I'm gonna need 33.3% worth of gain just to get back to even, as you can see this chart illustrating here.
Yeah, Dustin, I honestly can't tell you because I have the advantage of time, and I honestly don't look at it that much yet, because I've many years, fortunately or unfortunately, depending on how you look at it, away from drawing money for retirement. But I can tell you that if I was relying on that pool of money for income in the near future, I would be looking at it very closely, knowing that sequence of returns risk is very real. It would affect for many years to come. It's not a one-year effect. It's not a temporary effect. It's actually a permanent effect that affects how much money I can take out of the money that I saved throughout my lifetime.
Right. Well, and the thing is, I don't think you need to ask the client to take all their money out of the market and put it into a fixed indexed annuity. I mean, that's not advisable at all. I mean, just think about the rule of 100 as sort of your benchmark scenario there. But nonetheless, I think the closer you get to retirement and you're trying to time that retirement, the more pertinent it is to have these type of conversations. And let's face it, those people that are listening on the phone here, you know, there's plenty of people out there that are retiring every day that haven't heard this. Maybe they think they've heard a conversation like this, but they probably haven't. So, take a look at some of these things that we have from a marketing perspective. Reach out to Tim, get some sales concepts from him, and really start having a little bit of a different conversation with prospects out there. Here's my last sales concept, I believe, for the day, and really it's using our most popular product right now called the market value. It's a 10-year chassis, mostly accumulation focused. You can add an income rider to it, but it's a 3-in-1 strategy. So really, if you have a client coming in your office with any one of these concerns, this product can handle it. We're going to supplement income, we're going to satisfy the RMD, and we're also going to help leave a legacy. And I'll show you what I mean here with this illustration. So we have a 65-year-old male, qualified funds, obviously $100,000. Now, if you look at this illustration, I've highlighted on the left-hand side, I'll try to hit it with my cursor too, the RMD age. Once they're RMD age, they start taking out roughly $6,000. But what are they taking it out of? The accumulation value, which has grown to $165,000. Now, I've illustrated, I believe, a combination of our 2 proprietary indices. So, you're getting some nice gain in there, and you're starting to take funds out. Now, I did some very, very rough math. I think it's $130,000, something close to that they've taken out by the age of 85 or year 20 of the contract. But what is so important about that number is that they've taken out $125,000, $130,000, but nonetheless, they only put in $100,000 to begin with. And oh, by the way, they have $200,000 left in the accumulation value. So, you're leaving a legacy with that $200,000. The RMD is being taken out, and to supplement income, what that means to the client is that RMD isn't the full 10% penalty-free withdrawal that you can take out of this product. It's I don't know, 2, 3, 4%. So if they need to supplement income, you don't necessarily have to buy an income rider to fund a client's retirement. We're seeing more of this in the industry, by the way. So for this strategy and any of the other 3 strategies that I presented to you, take a look at those. Reach out to Tim and have him run those scenarios for you. Now here's a brief look at our portfolio. Like I said, it's fairly simplistic. We have 4 products. Our most popular product in years past has been Market Power. Most of the reason there's a 10% premium bonus that there's no vesting period for. There's a nice income rider with it. And those states that I've highlighted in red, hopefully those are opportunistic states for you. This is actually on a 10-year chassis in those states. Normally it's a 14-year product, which clients may want to stay away from. But if you have a 10% bonus product with a 10-year chassis on it, I think you have a unique story to tell to clients and prospects.
In those states, there's no other changes, right? Still all the same features within the annuity, but just 10-year surrender period instead of 14.
That's right. Absolutely. Good point. Market 10, that's another product. It has a 6% bonus on a 10-year chassis universally. So that has an ROP day 1, and it's actually flexible premium. So for the first 5 years, if clients dump in any money into that contract, they're going to get a 6% bonus on that. And we do pay commission on additional premiums as well, if you were wondering. But that day 1 no cost ROP is huge too. With our market value, again, this is our #1 selling product. It's a 10-year contract, flexible premium. Now, there's no frills to this, but I think that's an advantage in my personal opinion, because it doesn't have a bonus. We're not taking anything away from the participation rates or caps to fund that. So what you can do is put it within our 2 proprietary indices, the Focus 50, that has a 1- and 2-year option, as well as our 1-year option in the Mark 5, to really create a diversified opportunity for a client to get that potential return inside of a fixed index annuity. And then the little brother of a contract is that market 7. So the market value is a 10-year. The market 7 is obviously a 7-year contract, same sort of thing. But one thing I do want to point out, Tim, and then if you have a point to make, I can let you speak. The market value, it pays full comp all the way up to age 80. It's a 0 to age 80 product, and we pay full comp up to age 80. So what that means to you is from when most carriers drop comp at 75, we'll actually pay that full comp from 75 to 80. So another hidden advantage there that doesn't necessarily jump out at you when you're reading through the product guide.
Well, the point that I would make here, Dustin, and thank you for that, is when you have a client, right, and depending on their unique situation, it's not very difficult to sort through the index product portfolio at Equitrust and quickly arrive at the correct product for that client, right? You have simple choices to make. Is a bonus important or not? You know, depending on their time horizon. What about surrender period schedule and liquidity? Are they going to use it for income at all? By answering just a few short questions, then you can quickly arrive at the product that you want. And with Dustin sharing at the beginning of the call that the S&P Mark V is going to be added to new products at some point, I don't know if you shared the exact date, that takes away even one of the questions, because if you know if you get familiar with the Barclays Focus 50, you get familiar with the S&P Mark V, then you know the real value proposition as far as potential accumulation within each of these contracts.
Yep, good point, Tim. And I think we don't have a date yet for the market power and the market 10 to get the S&P Mark V. It is on the way, but for whatever reason, I think salespeople are the last ones that are told, because otherwise we probably jump the gun and try to sell it before it was available. But yeah, be on the lookout for that. And like you said, it's a simplistic product portfolio. There's not a lot of moving parts, and I think sometimes you can get too far into the weeds with clients and lose them, and sometimes even lose a sale. So if you're looking for a simplistic, good performing product suite, always look at Equitrust.
Well, and there's nothing hidden that's going to jump up and bite you. There's nothing hidden there. The simplicity means that I understand these products. I know what's going to happen and what's not going to happen, and nothing's going to happen a year or two down the road where I'm going to have to say to my client, well, I didn't know about that, or I didn't know, you know. So well, what you see is what you get.
Yeah, and I think one point that I'd like to make on this IBR income rider page, you know, you're going to send out the recording, so I won't go through all the details. But most carriers, I think all but one now, take the income rider fee out of the accumulation value, and they base it on the income rider value, which is many times inflated, of course. We take it out of the accumulation value as well, but we base it upon the accumulation value. So that's just one other moving part that you don't have to explain to clients. It actually ends up benefiting them from an income perspective. So again, a number of things that we have at our disposal here at Equitrust that don't necessarily jump out at you when you're reading through the product guide. And that's why you need to rely on Tim and financial brokerage for some of those details. This is a busy slide, I know it. That's why I put in these giant red arrows. If you're looking for accumulation, I want to draw your eye to those numbers. You know, our Mark V is at 95% in the market value, and the Focus 50 is 115 in the 2-year and 80% in the 1-year. So many times advisors will ladder those, get a little more diversification within the same product. You know, maybe you do 35% in a 1-year Focus 50, 35% in a 2-year Focus 50, and then whatever's remaining in the Mark V. Any number of combinations can give you the diversification you need to kind of weather some of this volatility that, you know, we're experiencing. And, you know, we just literally inaugurated a new president 30 minutes ago. So whatever comes up within the marketplace, where you can withstand that with diversification. Market 7 doesn't fall off too much from the market 10, or I'm sorry, excuse me, the market value. only about 10 basis points on those par rates. And Tim, here's where we get into the indexes themselves. Now, I'll keep it high level because in the essence of time, as well as, if you do have any more of the detail that you want, feel free to reach out to Tim, or you can always reach out to me as well. But both of our indexes are 5% vol control. So we're limiting the alpha and the beta to try to create a clear and consistent story for the client, roughly 4 to 7% annually, which I think is a fair number for a client when they're not in the market, but they're also not in a CD or money market account. So this index, the S&P Mark V, is not proprietary to Equitrust. There are a couple other carriers that have it, but this is an index that was up 8.28%. Our current par rate is 95, as I showed you earlier, and it's based upon equities in the S&P 500, as well as there is a commodity component in gold. Now, gold performed very well in 2020, so I think that's part of the reason we had a good year at 8.28%. And then we have a fixed income and a cash component. And really how I talk about all these proprietary indices, and Tim, maybe you have a better way of talking about these, is you have a dial, like an old radio dial, that you turn up and you turn down. When there's a lot of market volatility, you can reduce down your equities and turn up your bonds and fixed income and your cash component to try to level some of that out. And they're doing that on a daily basis with this index. Same thing with the Mark V, the Focus 50. And they're looking at the top 50 lowest volatility stocks in the S&P 500, which, if you think about it, are your Coca-Colas, your Waste Management, IBMs, your blue chip stocks like that, that they're really pulling from. And then there's a treasury component as well as a cash component. And again, this is a daily risk control feature as well at 5%. Tim, do you have anything on those slides?
Well, that's a pretty good metaphor, and I don't have a specific metaphor. The way that I look at it is, simply, these indexes provide diversification so that we're not necessarily tied into just one specific equity index. And two, they target low volatility, which in turn reduces the cost of options. And you kind of mentioned an additional fact up front is that between the carrier and the banks, they might be negotiating the price of options down even further, which in turn increases participation rates. So that low volatility, that diversification with higher participation rates, and then, not only higher participation rates, but theoretically, because of the volatility targets, you should have a little bit more consistent types of returns year over year, as opposed to 10% one year, 0% next year.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And, some of these new celebrity indices, as I like to call them, they're very, very complicated, and I don't even understand them. I try to study up on these as much as I can. I think ours are pretty straightforward, both the S&P Mark V and the Barclays. But if there are any questions, they both have ticker symbols, so you can go out there and look at those ticker symbols on Bloomberg or whatever your favorite app is. But also, they have their own websites, and you can dive as deep as you want in them. So by all means, we're an open book on these. There's really no smoke and mirrors to it, no secret to the sauce. We're just trying to limit the amount of volatility up and down to try to create that middle ground for the client. Here is a look at the market power map, and I did want to mention this to you all because this is a big differentiator for us as a carrier. As previously mentioned, our market power index product is typically our top seller. There's been a big move to accumulation, that's why market value is number one, but a close second is market power. And in the very light green states here you see on the map, that's where we have it on a 10-year chassis. So if you do business in these states or looking to do business in these states, typically you're going to have a decided advantage over your competition. Now, we don't have that product It's the only product we don't have available in California, so just make a note of that. But every other state besides New York, we have this product available. And this slide is kind of almost a placeholder for me, admittedly. In the upper left-hand corner, we do have this piece available to you, the quilt-looking document that shows the power of diversification. I mean, you're already diversifying by putting money towards a fixed index annuity, but when you diversify within that and are able to do that with 1 and 2 year Barclays indexes, maybe a monthly cap to the S&P, and even with our S&P Mark V, you can really create a diversified story to the client so that they're able to weather any of the volatility that they may see in the marketplace out there. Top right, this is a piece available on every one of our products. We actually are one of the only carriers that publish our renewal rates. We stand behind our renewal rates and we do our best to not lower them. Sometimes we even have increased them. But when you're looking at us maybe as a new carrier or coming back to us after a while, or even if you didn't know this and you're currently writing business with us, by putting ourselves out there, showing you our renewal rates, I think that just shows the integrity of the carrier. And in fact, maybe you can ask Tim to walk you through the website and show you exactly where you can get those renewal rates. You can generate an Excel spreadsheet of any date and any time frame over the last 20 years of renewal rates on our indices. So if there are any questions on that, reach out to Tim on that. And 2 bottom quadrants, I guess is what I'll call them, are pieces for advisors that may be new to annuities, or maybe want to have a different kind of conversation with clients. We have client-facing flip books. There's professional-looking spiral-bound flip books presentations for you to go through and identify key questions that may help you actually with the sale of an annuity. So I just put a brief picture of what's contained inside of those, but you can certainly get those for free or as many as you want from our website. Now, I won't spend too much time here because I know we're pretty much already over time, but our single premium life product is part of a portfolio, in my opinion, for retirement, in the sense that maybe you've already addressed the income portion for these clients. They already have their Social Security, their income rider, they're never going to outlive their funds, but maybe they can't qualify for normal life insurance or long-term care. What we have in this product is essentially an annuity within a life chassis. And what I mean by that is this is non-qualified money typically, and it's essentially a MEC. So the death benefit will still go to the beneficiaries tax-free. But what's nice here is that day one, your client gives you $100,000. The death benefit on this product would be $195,000. So if they were worried about a death benefit to their heirs, legacy planning for their heirs, great, we have them covered day one. There's also living benefits in this contract that will allow them to have that chronic care that they may be missing from not being able to qualify for long-term care, or long-term care is just too expensive for them. They can dump in a lump sum to fund those. And the salesperson in me kind of boils it down to, hey, we have 140% participation rate in the S&P Mark V. We have a 10-year chassis, a 5% bonus. Do you think, oh, and by the way, a day one ROP, do you think you would have clients that are interested in that? And I mean, maybe you do want to go ahead and think of your top 2 or 3 clients that, maybe need a little death benefit, maybe need a little bit of living benefits, and really reach out to them, because I don't know if I have it in here, but yeah, I don't believe I do. Sorry, I'm flying through the slide deck. It wasn't my intention, but we're out of time.
No, Dustin, one thing I saw in there was in your sales scenario, real quickly, it was the client with the money sitting in an STD. And that is the exact scenario that comes top of mind when I think about these single premium life products. Is not everybody but there are plenty of clients who have savings in a CD, not earmarked for anything in particular, or potentially earmarked for increased healthcare expenses due to a long-term care situation that could be much better served in a product like this, because essentially those clients want that money to go to somebody else besides themselves when they pass away, and this is going to just increase that pool of dollars that goes on to their beneficiaries.
Right, and the qualification for it is essentially a series of questions. We actually provide that questionnaire to you as an agent ahead of time. I mean, you can get it on our website right now, but essentially they're knockout questions. And if they basically answer yes to any of those, I think it's yes, or no to any of those, I forget which one it is. But if you have one of those, situations, those health concerns that would knock you out from having this, then you might as well just pivot back to a fixed index annuity, which does have, 2 to 6 ADL chronic care sort of coverage. It's just the death benefit's not tax free. But if that is the case, go ahead and move forward, and you can sit there with the client as they have a conversation with the people that do our questionnaires, and really, walk them through those questions ahead of time. They go through, they get approved for, I believe it's table 4 to standard is what we have for our rating classes. And again, it's going to be a tax-free death benefit. And they can also take the benefits, the living benefits lump sum. If they do that, those are probably going to be taxed, because we are talking about on that here. However, if they're paid out on a monthly basis, our legal counsel has told us that those should be paid out tax-free as well. So a lot of good benefits to a client with a product that isn't necessarily top of mind because everyone talks about IUL. This is a product that is highly competitive and does have its place in my personal opinion, every portfolio to a certain degree. So yeah, I appreciate you taking me back to this scenario here, Tim.
Yeah, perfect. And it's like I said, I would just reiterate, and I could tell you in particular around the Midwest where I've always been, conservative individuals just want their money in the bank, want their money in a CD. There's just plenty of pools of dollars sitting around that would be perfect targets for this type of product.
Yeah, and this is a popular piece right here. I mean, if they're leaving that money to their beneficiaries, I mean, that 100,000 is going to stay basically 100,000 for the next 20 years anyways. I mean, it'll grow at a 2% clip, and we're being generous with 2% in a CD these days. It'll grow to $136,900. But if you look at a fixed index annuity, I think we have this one earning 3%. They'll be at 161,000 death benefit, but literally day one, immediate value, they have that legacy. They basically doubled that amount for their beneficiaries. So just such a great story to be able to tell clients that not every advisor or agent is telling people out there. So another way that hopefully Equitrust is helping you differentiate yourself, and I think that's more important now than ever.
Perfect. And thanks for touching on that, Dustin. And
Yeah.
I do want to kind of throw it out there to the audience again. Any questions on anything that we've covered so far, just go ahead and throw it in that question box on the right-hand side. Dustin was kind enough to display my contact information there on the screen. I'll also throw out to the audience, if you have a potential client and you want to see illustrations on any of these products that we went over today, please give me a call, drop me an email. I'd be happy to get those over to you. And maybe even if it's even a recent case that went somewhere else, but you just want to see for your own purposes, that's fine. Send it over. We'll get an illustration for you to compare to wherever that money might have gone. It looks like we did a thorough job of explaining everything, Dustin. We don't have any questions relevant to the larger audience. So I will wrap it up there. Like I said, we'll be sending out a recording of the call. Certainly appreciate all of your time spending and your attentive time, actually, because I can see there's a little button on the right-hand side, and it shows who's paying attention and who's not. I don't know how they actually figure that out, but I can say that you were all paying attention during this call. So I appreciate that. Must have been good information. We'll send out the recording either later today or tomorrow. And we are here to help you partner with Equitrust to increase your business in 2021. Any final thoughts, Dustin?
Just thank you to Financial Brokerage, you, Tim, and everybody on the line. I know time is precious now more than ever. So thank you for giving us the time of day here.
All right. Thanks, Dustin. And you'll be hearing more about Equitrust from all of us. So thank you to everybody. And have a good day.